This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company. For more information and links to all our great podcasts, visit hartmanmedia.com.
Welcome to the American Monetary Association's podcast, where we explore how monetary policy impacts the real lives of real people and the action steps necessary to preserve wealth and enhance one's lifestyle.
It's my pleasure to welcome back a returning guest, and that is Adam Andrzejewski. He is founder and CEO of Open the Books, the world's largest private repository of government spending. He's a former Illinois Republican gubernatorial contender, and he's author of the new book, Operation Drain the Swamp. Adam, welcome back. How are you?
Well, great to be on the program, Jason. Thank you very much for having me back on. I'm looking forward to the conversation here today.
Well, my pleasure, and I really love what you're doing. Now, I guess maybe starting with Open the Books, right? Is what you're doing, is it all publicly available data, but you're just the first to really sort of put it together in one place? I mean, certainly there are lots of reports on government spending out there. What makes Open the Books different?
So our mission is to capture every dime taxed and spent at every level of government across the entire country. It's an ambitious project. Nobody's ever undertaken the project before. Our tagline slogan that describes this is simply every dime online in real time. And then what we do is we make it easy for regular people where they live to review the spending. So, for instance, today we're going to talk about federal grant making. In the last year of the Obama administration, there was $600 billion worth of federal grants distributed across the United States on about 600,000 transactions. We've taken that entire file, we've organized it by zip code, and if you go to openthebooks.com, click on the big graphic in the middle of the home page, it's called Where's the Pork? That takes you to this interactive map. You can search your own zip code and see exactly who got paid what on federal grants, by which federal agency, how much it was, and what it was for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow, it's quite something. I mean, you're keeping track of, like, for example, with those Obama grants you mentioned, where they're going, right? I'm guessing they're not going to people like me. I certainly didn't get one. And this is another example of government discrimination, government picking the winners and losers, whether it be by, color or socioeconomic class, or some other politically correct thing. But regardless of that, if it's just one business versus another, regardless of who owns it, who runs it, or what their, affirmative action quota is, which, we don't really exactly have that anymore, but, you get the idea. It's still, the government shouldn't be in the business of picking winners and losers. I mean, that's what they do in communist dictatorships, right? They pick if you like the government better, then we're going to treat you well. If you don't, then we're going to put you in a re-education camp.
And our government's doing this all the time. So, for instance, $200,000 funded by the American taxpayer in a very competitive industry went to a company in Joseph Kennedy III's district in Massachusetts, and it funded a company trying to come up with a new condom design and lubricant. And there's enough competition in that industry, in the private sector. We don't need to fund these private corporations for their research and development. And then on the other side of the equation, you've got the Fortune 100. And what we show in our data is that $3.3 billion of federal grants over a 3-year period flowed in to our most successful and wealthy, largest Fortune 100 corporations. These corporations cannot make the argument, Jason, that they need the money.
Right.
They don't need our money, but you and I, working class and middle class people across the entire country, are subsidizing the Fortune 100 companies to the tune of $3.3 billion.
What a scam. It's just unbelievable, this kind of favoritism and crony capitalism. And we don't even need to talk about Solyndra or any of the other number of debacles, the Obamacare website. I mean, it's just so pathetic. But hey, we have a new administration now. Tell us how they're doing. I mean, Trump said he'd drain the swamp, then he's got a lot of swamp dwellers still around. So I don't know.
It's a big job.
Yeah,
it's a big job.
Rome was not built in a day, as they all say. And that's certainly true. Rome wasn't torn down in a day either. So it is a big job. But how is Trump doing, like, objectively speaking? And I have no idea where you stand politically. What do you think? How's the administration doing?
So I think he's doing well, considering the array of all institutional force lined up against him. And let's go through where he's doing well. Well, good government starts exactly in the units that you can control by executive authority. The unit closest to him is his White House personnel payroll. We, for the last 2 years, on June 30th, it's a mandated report, the White House payroll report to Congress. We've given it oversight. This year we're the only news organization in the country to give it oversight. And here's the findings. He's down 95, nearly 100 employees at the same moment in time versus the Obama White House payroll. He's down $5.6 million a year on that payroll. His wife, Melania, is down on her payroll count. She's got 10 staffers that report to her.
Oh, and Michelle Obama just completely abused the system, and so did Nancy Pelosi. I mean, the stuff I used to read about Pelosi flying government jets around and the bar tab and the oh, my God, unbelievable. It was so abusive.
Right, so Michelle Obama at this point in the Obama presidency, she had 24 staffers. Melania has 10. Michelle Obama was running a payroll for the First Lady of the United States of $1.6 million a year. So we forecast that Trump is on pace. In fact, he's ahead of pace to save the American taxpayer, just off the White House payroll alone, $22 million. And this is a leading indicator. Trump has issued the payroll freeze for the executive agencies. He's told his cabinet members and executive agency heads that they have to do more with less, and he is leading on that right out of his own payroll in the White House.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, but really, I mean, this is great. It sets a nice tone. People like to hear it. But Adam, it's really kind of a drop in the bucket, right? Like, where are some big gains? It's good to see that these people aren't treating the office like elitist kings and queens and royalty, right? That's great. But that's more of a gesture, really, almost. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars, but with something as big as the federal government, it's a drop in the bucket, really, right? So what else is going on in the big, broad scheme of things, if you will?
So we identified that if you're a federal bureaucrat, the average pay in 78 large federal agencies is six figures. It's $100,000 a year. Mm-hmm. But that's not the whole pay package. You get these big salaries, then you get bonuses. We identified 1 million performance bonuses, and then we identified paid time off. At your 3-year anniversary, federal bureaucrats stand in line to receive 43 days, 8.5 weeks of paid time off, which is 10 holidays, 13 sick days, and 20 vacation days.
Who in the private sector gets 8.5 weeks off? I mean, that's just ridiculous. Isn't that unbelievable?
Well, no one gets it, Jason. And in fact, it's because we're not France.
Yeah, right. We're not France or Germany or any of these other European countries that could be doing a lot better than they are. Yeah.
Exactly. So when we unearthed this, I got called to the Executive Office of President, the Eisenhower Executive Building, the Office of Management and Budget, and I've been told that in the fiscal year 2019 presidential budget, he's going to go in and submit a proposal to Congress to try to scale back the 43 days of paid time off. Because that little line item, we estimate last year, cost the American taxpayer $23 billion.
Mm-hmm. Mind-boggling. $23 billion with a B. Okay, what else?
We've done a lot of oversight on grant making. And in the last year of the Obama administration, there was $600 billion, which is a mind-boggling number. $600 billion. It's 5 times what the state of California spends in a fiscal year.
And the state of California likes to spend, so that's more than $500 billion. Okay, go ahead.
Right. On federal grants doled out by the federal agencies across America. And this is the file that we mapped by zip code. And what we found was there's a grant for everybody. Mm-hmm. If you're that condom manufacturer, there was $200,000 for you. If you're a kid in China and you want to learn how to cross your busy street, the American taxpayer funded $200,000 to create a virtual reality platform to help the children in China cross their busy streets. If you are a senior citizen and want to learn Tai Chi in Boston, Massachusetts, the American taxpayer funded a $700,000 grant so the elderly at a senior center in Boston could learn Tai Chi. If you're a prostitute in California, the American taxpayer funded a grant for $1.5 million to teach sex ed to California prostitutes who could probably teach the class.
That's unbelievable. It's amazing that they're teaching sex ed to a group of people that are breaking the law. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I'm not debating whether prostitution should be legal or not, but the fact is it is illegal, and yet they have a class for the people breaking the law. How illogical can it get? Okay, go ahead. Give us some other examples.
I know that you're probably, Jason, flying your nice, well-heeled aircraft into the little airport in Martha's Vineyard, right?
Yeah, right.
So you can hop.
Sure.
So you're hobnobbing with the Hollywood elites out there.
Yep.
Now, I want you to know that when you land your aircraft there at that nice little airport, the American taxpayer funded that place for $9.2 million in federal grants for that little airport at Martha's Vineyard.
As if that's really needed for the public at large, right? Martha's Vineyard, what a specialized airport in this highly elite and, of course, left-wing area. It's mind-boggling. That's where Obama liked to vacation, was Martha's Vineyard. And the Martha's Vineyard in Hawaii.
Exactly.
Those were his two spots.
These grants flowed in on his last year. It was a nice parting gift from the administration to where they all like to have a good time.
Yeah, unbelievable. The abuses are just ridiculous. Okay, so what can be done? You say Trump is doing a pretty good job at it. I mean, would you give him a grade? Like, how is his administration doing on cutting government spending? Is he an A, B, C, a D? I mean, I know he's better than Obama was, but, what do you think in the overall scheme of things? Or is it too early to tell?
I think there has to be grades for a whole bunch of different areas.
Right.
And on the budgets that he submitted to Congress, I think he gets A's. You and I have never seen anything like it in our lifetimes. A president submitting all these cuts to, waste and taxpayer abuse. It's the Republican Congress that is greenlighting these omnibus spending bills that keep everything going and more. And so, one of the things that we did is we looked at the top 50 congressional districts receiving federal grants. And pork barrel spending, we determined, is bipartisan. In the top 50 districts, it's 27 Democrats, 23 Republicans. In the top 10 districts, it's evenly split, 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats. So Trump is up against his own party, who loves spending our money to help them get reelected.
Every politician does, because everybody loves a spender, It's like they said about Kennedy when he died, Ted Kennedy I'm talking about. He was such a generous man. Well, he was generous with other people's money. It wasn't his money he was giving away. I mean, it was our money. It's just unbelievable,
Exactly.
What a cool position to be in government, where you can basically get all the credit for forcing other people to give their money to people you want them to give it to. You don't make any actual personal sacrifice, but yet you can be viewed as though you're so generous. It's a great gig if you can get it.
Where the Trump administration needs to make improvements, I feel, is on transparency. So if he called me up and said, should I release the White House logs and the logs at Mar-a-Lago and things like that, we'd encourage him to do so immediately. Right. Here's the other place. We mapped the swamp Trump inherited. So we took a federal disclosed payroll file of 2 million bureaucrats, the civil service payroll, including the post office, and we mapped it by government employer zip code across the United States at the start of the year. This was huge news. Fox News ran 7 full segments, 31 total minutes of airtime in regard to this groundbreaking oversight report. Investors Business Daily called it the most comprehensive report ever done on the size and scope of the federal government. Well, in 2017, the first year of the Trump administration, we got the federal payroll through the door, and redacted from the responsive record was 255,000 bureaucrat salaries. This was a classic case of the bureaucracy fighting back. And it wasn't Trump's nominee at the Office of Personnel Management that redacted the salaries. But now he's got his nominee in place, and we still don't have the salaries. So I would encourage him to embrace transparency. engage the American people in these fights.
Mm-hmm.
He needs our help, and it starts with open and the free flow of data.
Yeah, it definitely does. And you've got a chapter head on that in your book. I always like to ask the question, Adam, compared to what? Compared to what? Right? So how does he compare on the transparency issue to the Obama administration, to Bush? Any thoughts there?
Obama ran on being the most transparent president ever, and then even the New York Times and all the rest of the crowd had to sue him to get responsive action on Freedom of Information Act requests. We haven't seen that yet with the Trump administration, so hopefully, the new day in Washington, D.C. extends to simply what is in the Appropriations Clause of the United States Constitution in Article 1, Section 9. I think, Trump should embrace this wholeheartedly, and it says that a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. And what that means, the books are open. It's our constitutional right as citizens to be able to review all the expenditures, and we go through this process called the Freedom of Information Act just to request what is already rightfully ours. And hopefully the president will wholeheartedly embrace that view of the Constitution.
Yeah, good points. What about the EPA? Whenever you set up an agency, they're just spending your money on all sorts of stuff that isn't even related to the real mission. Remember a few years back when that other agency, what's it called? The Government Oversight Agency or something, when they had all those lavish parties and hotel rooms for all the staff and the gift bags. And I just can't, was it like the GAO or something, the government accounting? I can't remember what the agency was, but that, was one just extreme example of abuse of power. It's just pathetic, really scary where your money's going. What about the EPA, though? How are they doing? By the way, originally set up by a Republican. It's Nixon's creation was the EPA.
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of Democrats don't know that.
So in 2015, in the fall of 2015, at openthebooks.com, we did a comprehensive oversight report of the EPA, and we found that in a 7-year period, the EPA bureaucrats incredibly spent $92 million on high-end luxury furniture. So it was $800 pencil holders and $7,000 executive desks. Just a waste of money. We pushed this to Bill O'Reilly at Fox News. He did a segment on it. And the EPA spokesman ended up telling O'Reilly that they saved the American taxpayer money because with some convoluted logic, they said, we moved into new office space, the rents were lower, so we needed new office furniture, but on a net basis, the American taxpayer was ahead of the game. And that is quite simply the logic of the bureaucracy.
That is
of
unbelievable.
The swamp.
Totally abusive. Now, I want to make sure, though, they didn't claim that those $7,000 desks, I don't have a $7,000 desk, and those beautiful pencil holders, those weren't made out of recycled materials and sustainable production, right? The best thing they could do for the environment.
They were probably made from ivory from the African elephant.
Yeah, illegal ivory. Yeah, but the best thing you could do for the environment, I remember, it's funny how people rationalize this crap. This is a bit off topic, but I remember this ex-girlfriend of mine, she became an interior designer. And I said to her one day, we were just chatting about her job, and I said, so what are people doing now? Like, what are some of the trends in design? And she says, oh, everybody's really environmentally conscious, with all their stuff now. And I'm like, I said to her, the best thing they could do for the environment is not redecorate. Seriously,
That's right.
It's just so illogical the way these people are. They find a way to rationalize all kinds of, consumption and sin at every level, don't they?
Well, in our book, Operation Drain the Swamp, and everyone listening to your program can buy a copy at Amazon. It's only $6.99. We put it at a nice price point so you can buy extra copies. We did find that the incredibly, Veterans Affairs employs 167 interior decorators and designers.
Oh my God.
Every 5 years, they spend $60 million on their salaries and bonuses for redecorating and decorating at the VA. And that's not providing basic health care to our veterans.
Unbelievable. And what do you want to bet? There's all kinds of kickbacks going on there. There's all kinds of those designers are coming and doing the house of the buyer, the person who buys the stuff from them or gives them the contract. It's just pathetic. It's just corruption everywhere you look, you know. What about San Francisco? You've got a chapter about the Presidio Trust.
We do. So this is a real good story. So in the last year of the Obama administration, fiscal year 2016, we took a look at the highest bonuses in the federal system, 2 million federal bureaucrats. What were the highest disclosed bonuses? And 6 out of the top 10 were at this little federal agency we had never heard of called the Presidio Trust in San Francisco, California. These are not people curing cancer. They're not sending a man or woman to the moon. These people are managing land, a former military base, in some of the best turf in the country at the base of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. And the top bonus in 2016 went to the human resource manager. The guy who cuts the payroll got the biggest bonus out of 2 million federal bureaucrats, and it was $141,000.
Wow.
Their realtor got an $85,000 bonus, and a program manager got a $78,000 bonus. And 6 out of the top 10 highest bonuses, again, they weren't scientists, doctors, or anybody else. They were at this little agency called the Presidio Trust.
Unbelievable. It's just unbelievable.
They have truly gamed the system for personal gain. That's the definition of it.
You just got to assume everybody's going to do that. So the Operation Drain the Swamp consists of 3 major parts, Adam. Open the books, downsize rich benefits packages, and cut frivolous positions. What do you want to tell us about that as we wrap it up?
The president faces fierce resistance in Operation Drain the Swamp. There's 120,000 program managers, analysts, and their bosses that confer $600 billion worth of grants. That's the resistance, and that's why the president needs we the people to stand up and fight waste, fraud, corruption, and taxpayer abuse.
Good stuff. Adam, give out your website.
It's openthebooks.com, and people can buy a copy of the book at Amazon. It's called Operation Drain the Swamp.
And you also have an app, don't you? A smartphone app with Open the Books data on it?
We do, and there's roughly 15 million public employee salaries in that app.
Wow.
It's free for Apple and Android. It's called Open the Books.
The first problem is, why are there even 15 million government employees? It's just insane that the government is that big a part of the economy. But we'll leave that one for your next time on the show, Adam, because that's just crazy.
Right.
Adam, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. That's Open the Books and Operation Drain the Swamp. Appreciate you filling us in on some of this stuff.
Well, thank you again, Jason. Thanks for your interest in our work.
Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Be sure to check out the show's specific website and our general website, hartmanmedia.com, for appropriate disclaimers and terms of service. Remember that guest opinions are their own, and if you require specific legal or tax advice or advice in any other specialized area, please consult an appropriate professional. And we also very much appreciate you reviewing the show. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever platform you're using and write a review for the show. We would very much appreciate that. And be sure to make it official and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.